Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Hello and welcome to Better on Draft. Today is a Michigan Beer Series number 54 with Hear.Say Brewing and Theater. I am host Rob, and with me as usual is host Wendy. Hey Wendy, what are you drinking today?
I have a couple, obviously. I am starting with a Creature Comforts Tropicalia IPA, and I've got a Sweetwater Going Coastal IPA with pineapple. I'm drinking the Georgia beers today.
Very
apparently.
Georgia today. Yeah, I was going to say. I managed to snag a Tropicalia going through the Atlanta airport one day, and that was pretty good.
It's one of my favorite beers.
Yeah. I have a tropical nap in the hammock from Metazoa today. It is their, I can't remember what style the nap in the hammock is. It's but this is tropical version of it. It's pretty good. It's a leftover. Wendy and I are both doing for March. Our drinking project is to drink our beers in ever increasing ABV, and this one was my 4.8.
We could have started you off on that project.
Yeah, it's good start.
So with us today is Benny and Tony from Hear.Say. Can you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves in whichever order you choose, and what are you drinking?
Go for it, Benny.
Yeah, I'm really into the Black Rose Imperial IPA that we're making right now, or Imperial Stout rather. That's kind of my favorite beer right now, so that's what I'm sipping on. And yeah, it's just like a very old school approach to like Imperial in that it's, no sugar, all 12 specialty malts from Wireman, and just like is really tasty. It's really good. Easy drink.
Yeah, I love that beer that it's sub 10% ABV as an Imperial Stout, so it plays in that really nice category between like the 5% kind of oatmeal stout and the 13-14%, big stout. It's one that you can drink. It's by no means a session beverage, but it's quite drinkable at 9% and great flavor.
As I was preparing for the show, I was, of course, looking at your tap list, and that one stood out because it was the only ABV beer, like the highest ABV beer on there, and it was by a lot. So I would like to talk to you about that later, but we need to know what Tony's drinking first.
Yeah, I was running around, so as you'll learn about I may need to find a window to go grab a pint and bring it onto camera.
Oh, sorry.
No. So right now I've been drinking a lot of our Wonderland Michigan IPA, which is a fun project for us. I think the conversation of like what's a Michigan IPA is a really interesting one. That beer, I will go get one whenever I can do my like little 100-meter sprint. Pour one. I'm in our garage space because our tap room's busy and we've got shows going on, which we'll cover. But yeah, Wonderland, it's a Michigan IPA. It's got this great red color. It actually is like a similar color to our Irish red that's on the board. So there's, Ben can speak to kind of all the, how he thought about the malt backbone for that beer, but it's with 3 all grown in Michigan hops. So Willow Creek, Emerald Spire, and Michigan Copper. And it is a really enjoyable, super unique beer that we're really digging right now, and our guests seem to be enjoying a lot as well.
That sounds like a good throw to Ben to talk about that while you go get one.
Yeah,
I will do that. Yeah, how about that?
Let's do that. So, so Copper, has been around for a minute, and Emerald Spire, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a forefront hop or something that people are focusing on by any means. And then Willow Creek is a Mexican indigenous strain of hops that was found in Colorado, and grows excellently in Michigan from my research. So when Tony approached me about making a Michigan IPA, I'm a Michigan transplant. I've been here for a decade, and I'm from Central New York. I'm from Ithaca, New York. But I spent a decade in in Colorado brewing, and so I, you know, I really wanted to approach what I've come to know traveling around Michigan, um, up to like Gaylord, and I have brew friends, all the way through the Traverse region. And when you get up there, farther in the mitten, um, IPA tends to get darker and more caramely, and to be frank, completely unlike any IPA in the whole nation. So I thought it was like it's a really cool, um, I guess, regional study of how IPA in Michigan is different than it is everywhere else. And I mean, all the way up to the King, Two Hearted Ale, being an all Centennial IPA with a lot of still like a lot of caramel character. Um, uh, I kind of wanted to run with like how I would pair hops to that caramel color. So starting with like a bittering of copper, um, and a mid-range whirlpool of Emerald Spire, and then a massive load of Willow Creek as a dry hop addition, was kind of it was a very experimental thing in the beginning, but I'd done a lot of research in the profiles of those hops. I knew how they were going to land, and um, so I was pretty confident that it was going to end up being tasty. But I wasn't entirely sure that what was going to happen, because specifically Willow Creek. If you look up Willow Creek and do research on Willow Creek, like people really don't know how to use it, how it's going to be applied to beers. It's kind of like a new thing, and in process, as a brewer, as I'm dropping trub, I'm getting a lot of tasting notes from the scent from even dropping trub, and they were coming in with a lot of white grape skin notes, which I love because I love Nelson Sauvin. And so I wasn't sure how I was going to go, but I was very optimistic. And then sure enough, like out pops this beer that is like it's delicious, but it's definitely not like any other beer in the state. It embodies all the greatness that I taste when I drive up through the mitten, to various breweries, but it's got kind of a new spin on the hop aroma. So it's kind of a new play on like that all centennial thing, with a three-way combination of some really great new products that are being offered, in Michigan from these great hop farms that exist here, which is it's great being able to get stuff locally.
You said a couple of things in there. First, I got to call out dropping trub sounds really dirty.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, that it's the dirtiest thing in our industry. I
Yeah.
wish I could flash a video of the bright green turds I drop off tanks every day. And uh, I feel like a doctor sampling my stools, because they come off the tank, and like you don't know what you're optimistic, but you have no idea like sometimes how these liquids are going to come through, and it can be alarming the scents and consistencies that these tanks drop. But that's like a big part of beer and like what we do. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
And I need to ask, you got to work, it sounds like with local farms. Did you get to, is it similar to hop selection type of a thing? Did you get to go out to the farms and talk to them, or is it more of they're now providing?
It's Michigan Hop Alliance,
Okay.
provided those hops, and I'm blanking on the owner's name, but he's great. Brian, yeah, I've been in contact with him for many years, and I've worked with him with beers that I created at One Drop Brewing Company, my last brewing project. And Michigan used to be the biggest hop producer in the world, um, until quote unquote blight kind of wiped out the hops in the state, and everybody switched to growing corn. So it's a state that's like, and you can see now when you drive up to Traverse the miles and miles of hops vines that are there. The state is really like agriculturally catching up with cultivating um, a bunch of great stuff here. It's just kind of it's new again. It's happened here before, but it's happening again. And the blight that took it out before, ended up just being a diagnosis of a powdery mildew. Um, but at the time, we're talking so many, like 100 years ago, nobody knew what to really do or how to remedy powdery mildew on hops. And now we have obviously like agricultural tools to take care of things like that. So we've got a bunch of great varieties that Brian's offering to the state. And yeah, I think that Wonderland is a testament to kind of how having access to these products in Michigan are going to start cranking out some new beers with some new flavors, which is super exciting for me as a beer maker. But I think also we're going to kind of see the reverberation of that through the market um, as they continue to develop and cultivate new varieties. It's awesome.
Nice. Well, while you're still talking, how did you get into brewing beer? How did you end up at Hear.Say?
So I started brewing beer when I was in college at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. I was living in a fire station, and the firemen had a a very long tradition of brewing beer in the firehouse in Ithaca, New York, but they weren't allowed to ferment anything in the station. So what they were allowed to do while they were on shift was boil wort. So they would boil wort when they were on staff, transfer it into demijohns or carboys in their truck, and then drive it home and ferment it in their garage. So it was like a late night um, homebrew kind of club that it had existed for 50 plus years. And so when I joined my father is now a retired fire chief, and when I went to school, there was an opportunity to join the bunker program, which was a program where you were allowed to live in the fire station and do shifts in exchange for free housing. So instead of living in a dorm, I was living in this fire station full of Irish firemen that love to boil wort late night. And so um, I kind of fell into it that way. Um, and then once I became really interested in that, I um, just kind of took it from there. I ended up moving to Colorado and working for breweries out west. And it just was like a fascination that continued on, as I just kept chasing it. I've always loved brewing, and I met a girl from Michigan and moved back. That's when I moved here to start One Drop Brewing Company, which I had opened for 4 years. And was really successful. It was a really great place. People in Oakland County like still kind of just we had such a good time there. But circumstances didn't work out with that, and it closed. And Tony and I had a mutual friend, Jeff Smith from Loaded Dice, who kind of connected the dots for us and brought us together to kind of launch this new venture in Ann Arbor, which has been great. It's been awesome.
So tell us a little bit about Hearsay.
Yeah. So Hearsay is our mission is crafting community through joy and laughter, which I think is huge. I think a lot of places talk about wanting to be a community hub, and we've got, we're kind of a place that anybody can sort of find a hub or find their people. So we're a 2-in-1 business, but then kind of more than 2-in-1 because we've got all these other things going on that we can talk about. We're obviously a brewery, and that's why we're here first and foremost. But we also have basically a comedy club on site in a contained room. And then we teach comedy classes. So a lot of what I do is actually on that side. I teach improv comedy, and we've got 80 students now in classes in our program, which is really exciting. So we've grown that from 20 to 30 students all the way to 80, and just really cool to watch that evolve. And now those students, some of them are starting to perform on some of our teams. And I think I was looking at the brewery landscape, and I really wanted to be, kind of have a firmer footing in craft beer after 10 years of working in tech at Google. And so I have a small investment in my good friend's brewery at Someday Brewing, which is in Grosse Pointe Woods, also an awesome spot. But we were moving back to Michigan from California, my wife and I, and she was starting a full-time physician in pediatrics at Michigan. And we were like, okay, we want to create this awesome spot that is kind of the ultimate hangout, so it's got this whole comedy wing. We really care about the beer quality. And I think that's a story we still have to tell a lot, because I think a lot of times people look at like a 2-in-1 business and you sort of assume you're kind of skimping on one side, like which side of the house is sort of getting the love and what's the ugly stepchild, so to speak. And we care a ton about both sides. We want to have world-class beer, and we want to have incredible comedy shows, on the scale that we're at. So our shows seat about 55, our tap room is 60, and we're brewing on a 7-barrel system, but we really take the quality seriously across the board. And then we've got a lot of different spaces for people to discover. So, just to my left here is a lit beer garden with fire pit tables. And then we've got the inside brewery. We've got the comedy theater inside of that. We've got a front patio with fire pit cement tables. And we're super kid friendly, super dog friendly. We want to be a neighborhood bar for people. We show I like sports a lot. So we put a lot of sports on, and we're kind of this like, we're just this hub for people in and around Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County, and even from beyond, to come and enjoy a really great beer. And hopefully that puts a smile on your face. And then hopefully our comedy and our other offerings put a smile on your face as well.
I actually just had lunch with a friend who told me that she's taking a class with you guys for the comedy.
Oh, cool. That's
so
awesome.
I'm excited.
That's
I bought a ticket to see her first show.
Yeah. Highly likely
Awesome.
I tend to perform in all of those, so you'll get to see
Yeah.
some of our house our house team and teachers perform. But yeah, that's such a positive thing. We've had so many people get exposed to our beer through coming to support a friend who's taking an improv class, and that was always, in an era where I think it's very hard. We're watching so many of our friends, our mutual friend, Jeff, just close Loaded Dice, which is super sad and very personally impactful to see that. I think a lot of breweries in general, you're looking at like, what is the reason to put butts in seats in this kind of new era that we're in? And so for us, we think the comedy is a huge thing. And then, but we also want to make it clear that people can also not care at all about that. You can just come for the beer, and you're also our best friend. So, we love you no matter what you want to do here. Maybe eventually we'll convince you to try all kinds of things that we offer. We even have like on-site lodging. So we've had people stay for the weekend and do, like, if you're doing like a beer tour around Ann Arbor, you can even stay on site here in our Airbnb. So we've got a lot of kind of unique things to offer, I would say.
Now I'm thinking, how am I going to do that?
Especially the beer tour part, right?
The beer tour part. I mean, I live very close to Ann Arbor, so it's silly for me to stay there, but it's also fun to say, hey, I stayed at this brewery.
Yeah, sure.
I do not live near Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Even if you live close, after 8 beers, it's not bad to,
That's
stay
true.
local.
That is very true. So, trying to think of how to put it. Are you finding that you're getting a lot of students in because you are in a college town, or are you getting a lot of locals? What is your mix ratio there?
Yeah, we don't get a ton of students, which is interesting. We're kind of I like to think of like, Ann Arbor, you got kind of 94 that runs around the outskirts, and we're on the west side of town. So we're on the bus line. We're very accessible by public transportation, which is cool. But we tend to get undergrads and grad students more so if one of their friends is doing like a stand-up show. We've had some stand-up, and some of them are kind of more open mic themed or very open for a lot of people to jump in. And if there are people competing in that who are undergrads or grad students, we get more of that. We definitely get grad students. We actually do a partnership improv show with the School of Information where 3 professors kind of speak about their academic research, and then we do comedy inspired by that, which is pretty interesting. So that gets more of the grad student and professor demographic out to us. We don't get a lot of younger students, which is good for, some of them aren't 21. So, but we do want to be a place that, you're welcome here to see shows and hang out. And we do have a lot of non-alcoholic drinks as well. But we tend to get more people, a lot of couples, a lot of families love to come out during the day just because the beer garden is such a great place for kids and dogs to run around. And then, we get some, older folks too, which is really nice. Some of them are taking comedy. We get a lot of older couples in their 50s and 60s that are kind of cruising around trying breweries, and some of them have become Mug Club members and hang out a lot. And then we're starting to get more of like the post athletics crowd as well, which is really cool. We love those groups, like the after indoor soccer. There's an indoor soccer place like 5 miles from us. A lot of them used to go to Wolverine Brewing, which is down the street, and they're going through a very vague renovation, possible we're not really, nobody's really sure what's going on with them. But we've been, and I love that. That's a great business, very important in the craft beer industry in the short term.
We're all
We're
very
sort of
concerned.
yeah. We're not sure what they're trying to do. But we're also trying to make
Especially
it clear
being
that we're
being like, Michigan's only all lager institution on the brewing side. It's like everyone's, I feel like, very concerned about, I guess we're thankful that will continue and that, they're under new ownership. We're all just hoping like that Michigan's greatest lager producing and manufacturing company is going to just like keep cranking out the awesome pilsners that we enjoy all summer long. Even last night at Oat Soda up here in Oakland County where I live, I had an amber lager from Wolverine. And it's like, I think we're all just rooting for that lager staple to continue. But yeah, in the interim, if we're able to shelter their their fan base and offers great beers until they renovate and get open, it's something that's been cool. We've been very welcoming to their people being right up the street. So
yeah.
That's definitely a bonus. It's always good. That's one of the things that I love about this industry is how you work together and try to take care of each other.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'd love to see more beer tourism in Ann Arbor. Like I've said this before, but like we're never going to be like Beer City, USA. But they're, in my opinion, just now entering into this landscape. I don't think there's enough of a sense of like all like rising tide lifts all ships, and like let's brand things, let's do stuff collaboratively. We just took part in a Florian East that's pretty. They opened around when we did, and they've had some great success on like the mild, English milds and beers like that. They're using grain from Indiana, hops mostly, I believe, are all from Michigan. But they put together like a really fun crawl. We were probably one of the westernmost in the state breweries. A lot of it was kind of more Metro Detroit, but we've had just today. It's the last day to get this like passport thing stamped, and we've had people come through for that. And in Ann Arbor, I think there could be an awesome dynamic of hit homes, hit us, hit Moth Fire if you're kind of cruising around the outside of the city, and then there's other great breweries downtown like Jolly Pumpkin, of course, and Grizzly Peak and Blue Tractor, and then when Wolverine opens, of course, them on the outskirts of town as well. So yeah, it's a great beer town. We're excited to be part of it and bringing some love to this space because we're the third brewery here. I don't know if you know the full history of our space, but there have been two breweries previously, and really, we're in it for the long haul here. We're really excited to be open, and to try something kind of unique, but still have, of course, the brewery component is like the centerpiece of what we do, with some like really fun new wrinkles on taking advantage of like a really cool piece of land in town. We have one of the biggest grassy beer gardens in town, and we're just so excited to get people out there this spring and summer, since we
Yeah,
really
awesome.
opened it like the tail end of that season last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the Florian mild tour being a new company, and like I love like archaeological beer studies. So when Tony approached me and was like, "Hey, like this company wants to do an English mild, um, they're known for it." I was like, I mean that style is so old, and there's so many great things about it. And all the breweries that were involved in that, had their own takes on it, but it was great doing what I love to do, which is like each beer being a archaeological dive into research. So I was like right away, I was like, oh wow, we gotta order Maris Otter from Crispy, because that's the quintessential uh, ingredient to a mild. And then I dove into how the style started, where it started, how it started, how it changed, its popularity, the ingredients that changed from English mild to dark English milds, um, and was able to kind of come up with my translation of what I thought. Um, what specialty malts we source everything from Wireman, which is German. So it was interesting just seeing like how we could apply some cara malts and caramel malts to accurately reproduce that style, which was there wasn't a whole lot of time to do it, but um, I think we got it together. I got it together pretty quickly, and ultimately, it's this very light style beer that has great tobacco and black tea notes, and has been really awesome watching people enjoy it. And it's such a sessionable beer, and it ended up filling in the third. Um, Beer that we have on our menu under 4%. That's kind of been an industry trend that we've watched come into fruition. People want more sessionable beers. Um, I started into that research uh, with our ultra light beer Zen Waves, which is a Japanese rice ale Kolsch mashup, um, that's super low ABV, but still has like really great Kolsch body. 1/3 gluten reduced, being that it's a rice adjunct beer. Um, Low calorie. It's kind of like it's all the things that people want. And then I had a great Irish red recipe that I also at that point pulled into that research and was like, it'd be great to have this Zen Waves Ultralight, but also um, our red clover being under 4%, still again with big red amber body, but just being something that people can come and enjoy several pints of safely, and uh, remain hydrated, I guess, throughout the process. It's like it's a cool thing to have on your menu. You find customers that are able to come in and they want to stay and they want to have food and they want to drink several beers. So um, the the 7.5 IPAs and the 9% Imperials, they catch up with you. So you gotta like you gotta have some dilution in your solution to what people buy. It's good.
I definitely am appreciating the lower ABV options that we're getting here recently. I'm liking that trend.
Yeah, that's great.
I saw the mild on your menu and did immediately think of on the Michigan Beer Discord server. People have been sharing their mild tours, which I think is just absolutely wonderful. Um, But I have to ask, the other big thing that's going on there is the March Draftness, and I saw you guys made it to the Stout 16. What do you think of the tournament?
Yeah.
How did you enjoy it? How'd you do? How do you feel you did? I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we're still so there were a few things. One was I'm like, I got to get out more. Like we've been so heads down on this project. There are a lot of breweries in there. I'm like, I need to meet these people. We've had some, we've
Yeah.
met some really cool folks that have cruised through our way. Bad Brewing we were matched up against. We ended up edging them out narrowly. But we've had one of their brewers come through and really enjoyed our stuff, and I owe them a return visit. Um, I think on the one side, it's just anything that creates fun and enthusiasm around beer is great. And so, we were really pleased to be in that competition. We were also in one that the Detroit News did, but we had no clue what was going on with it and if we were doing well or not. There's like no updates, and you've got to give them like a zillion bits of personal info. So I liked how transparent the March Draftness was. It's kind of like how many people can you rally on Facebook? Quite literally. And it was cool. Like I'm becoming more aware of just some of these newer or not even new. I mean, we're the new brewery, but just places that are new to me that I really need to get out and explore. But I think anything that gets people talking about Michigan craft beer is a total home run. So we were really grateful to be included in the competition, and then B, to make it a couple rounds and beyond a couple rounds into to the 16 was really cool. And the exposure we got was really fun. Became a great way for us to talk to our fans, our members, about a way they can support us that cost them literally a button click on Facebook. We got pretty creative in how we were sharing it in our personal circles and just getting people, because sometimes it's hard. You're like, hey, we want, it's like that you need to be doing more to market your business. And sometimes, having a very specific task at hand that you can rally around is really cool. And we were like sweating it out. It was like 11:50, and I think we were up by like 18 votes against Hillsdale Brewing, and Ben like, it's 17, it's 16. I'm like, oh, my Facebook's behind your Facebook. We've got I was like refreshing. We had like the command center. We're like watching it.
Cousins.
Yeah, we're like, it's like, stop dropping trub. We got to rally people right now we were getting really creative about where to share. Yeah.
Do you feel like people in your tap room appreciated it too? Like, were they having fun?
Yeah, people really enjoyed it, and it's an era where I think people get that it's a really difficult time. I mean, it's a difficult time to also exist as a consumer and a citizen. Just think, prices have gone up, and et cetera. But I think people always want to look for those ways that they can support you. So there were so many people that would come in and say, "Hey, we voted. I did the thing you said," and they were like really proud. They kind of were like ready for their gold star that they had supported us and voted for us. Bless their heart, I had a lot of people not read I had a lot of people like a day or two late. They're like voting on the one that's already over. I was like, well, thank you. A lot of our older family members, that seemed to be a theme of like, I know at some point I'm gonna have an aunt like in 4 months share the thing that they voted, and I'll be like, love you. That competition's over. That was March Draftness, not
Right.
the July bracket challenge,
My favorite part about the challenge is that every year there's at least 2 or 3 breweries that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So
It's a
it
great way
evens
to
the playing
discover
field for
new
everybody.
brands.
Yeah, we really appreciated it being included. So, it was huge for us. And yeah, totally. It's cool to look at some of the breweries. There was a post about that today, and you see some of the places. Like, I'm a huge fan of Drafting Table. I think they have a really wonderful beer program, and I've gotten to spend some time with Aaron there. Like, so to see people, it's cool to look at that story of like when and where people started to really get some buzz. So it's nice to see those groups that are really, those breweries that are advancing. Hopefully we'll get the chance next year to make it even further and continue the push. But yeah, I was following Someday last year. Now they're in the Final Four, which is really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, so we're stoked about that. And yeah, it just seems it's all good. Like I just, was in the tap room earlier, and you see like the mild madness stuff. People tell you they voted for you in the bracket challenge. All these things. Like I think we can all stand to be creative and positive and do things that get people talking versus like the stuff that kind of at times in craft beer can feel more like, you know, just pure commiseration on some of the challenges and difficulties. Like I love channeling that energy into like, all right, what can we do that's fun? Doesn't necessarily cost a lot and
Yeah.
gets new eyeballs and or just rallies your members. You're just the more people are thinking about your business as a brewery, the more they're like, damn, I would like one of Benny's beers right now. I do want to come for that.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
Wonderland that I know actually have. Um, so
Well, I
yeah.
was just and I was just so happy to see anything craft beer on Facebook. And
Hmm.
and you scroll every day, and you're in this industry that we love so much, and there's so many facets to it. There's so many awesome breweries, but it can kind of fall through the cracks, like in your feed, what you see. And so I think it was just such a great attraction to have online for people. And then, being that it was an easy push button vote, the engagement of people, it kind of like, I think it like wakes people up to it reminded me of a lot of breweries that I haven't been to in a long time, but have been to before,
Yeah.
but want to revisit. And, I was like, it was just great seeing all that engagement. You get certain engagement on brewery posts, but on those votes, some of those votes had more than 1,000 people voting on them, and I was like, wow, 1,000 people thinking about craft beer. That makes me so happy. It makes me so happy because I think like it's really easy in this economy, um, and just where we're at, uh, for people to forget about certain craft breweries and the ones that they used to enjoy, and getting people back out to visit those places is like crucial for our industry right now where we're at. So I thought it was such a positive thing, and I really appreciated being a part of it. As long as we lasted in the bracket, it was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Kind of along those lines, are you looking at collaborating with other breweries? Have you? And do you have any coming?
We would love to. I think like collaboration is a huge part of the market. We're just 6-7 months in, so we've been from rebuilding our system, every gasket, and the pitfalls that come with uh an older setup, and getting that up to snuff, and then there into like our water filtration and just how we're doing everything now. Like, we haven't had so much time to get into that, but I've got so many great friends in the industry in Michigan, that I look forward to reaching out with and doing collabs with in the future. And even there's so many great companies even in Ann Arbor, and within the 30-minute radius of us, in Grand Rapids. It's like I would love to get into that. We're just kind of honing our menu, as a fresh startup, and really putting all of our energy into producing the absolute best products that we can. And I think we take that to a whole new level in many aspects, specifically with water chemistry. Um, so it's really exciting to still have time to grow into that space where we can call up some homies in the state and make some awesome collabs. But for now we're just trying to we're still moving around coolers and stuff, and like figuring out logistically our workflow and in the building. And then too, like a lot of our releases have sold so fast. We're still running as fast as we can to brew beers and keep up with you know what we're trying to do. We haven't even rolled out like our best IPAs. Are the next two IPAs I'm super excited about, and are going to be just game changers for the market So yeah, we're so focused on cranking out some really great beers in the next month or two. But yeah, very soon I think we're gonna kind of hit a point where we can get into some collaborations and start working, but with some other companies. But yeah, we've talked to Tony's talked to a local coffee company. We've talked about doing um, a stout, a coffee stout, and yeah, it's definitely in the works.
That's cool. And it sounds like you're running into the best and worst problem of, selling your beer as fast as you can make it, because that
Yeah,
means you're in there brewing all the time.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's good. And then too, like beer, beer's best consumed fresh. And so it's not a bad it's the best possible thing when at a 7 barrel volume you're moving through beers. That's the whole point. That size can seem small compared to other breweries, but what you're able to do dynamically with that system size is create beers that are off the charts with ingredients, but also are turning over in a month and a half. Nothing is getting old. Nothing is, you know, getting stale. Everything is super fresh. But, if I can't imagine brewing on a 30 barrel consistency with the hop addition we just dropped on our West Coast, it would
Yeah, over
bankrupt
20
you.
20 pounds in it. Yeah.
20, 22 pounds on 7 of Nectron and Crush. Good luck at a 30 barrel system. It'd be, you'd be in you'd be in 5 figures just in your hot bill. So it's it's a cool thing and it's a niche thing, and that's what I've loved 7 barrel breweries since I started in craft brewing, and it's just that you can offer beers that have ingredient additions at that size um, that big breweries couldn't. I mean, they won't afford to make. So you can make really special beers, um, and still turn a great business on them. So I think, yeah, that's really like what I've always loved about craft beer is in what was called microbreweries, nano breweries, is that they're making these liquids that are so special, and the ingredients are so amplified that I'll go as far to say, like, big beer cannot compete. They could never make what we make. And that's what's great. It sets us apart. It keeps people coming back, and it keeps our ability to build community and make these really awesome beers. So it's a dream for me. It's always been a dream, but I love it. I still love it so much.
So with 7 barrels, you talked about the rice lager before, but do you
Yeah,
have other house beers, and how do you keep them? Because that's what 14 kegs that comes out of that thing, right? So it's
14 half
pretty.
barrels.
Yeah, 14. So, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
but
41 sixtels. 42 sixtels. Yeah.
yeah,
Hypothetically.
Your math.
yeah, yeah. But how do you keep those stocked? I guess, and are you only distributing through your tap house right now?
Yeah, we're distributing through just Tony and I, and um our distribution. That's another great thing about beer in Michigan is our self-distribution law was such a breakthrough for the industry, and our ability um to do that. A lot of states, you don't have the ability to do that. You have to work through a distributor. But at the 7 barrel size, it's another awesome thing. We don't have, all the beer in the world to distribute. So distribution in this industry um, can cross sheets into promotion and marketing. So at a 7 barrel size, it becomes a facet of our business to be able to connect with our friends in the craft beer industry on the craft beer side. For example, Oat Soda, Danny and Jason are real good friends of mine, and we have, various friends in Ann Arbor as well. So it doesn't have to be such a big thing. It's more of a community thing, and being able to talk to the owners of those small businesses directly and say, "Hey, we really want to get our name out there." And they're like, "Hey, we sell beer and that's our business." So those two things really link up, and it's great to get our name out there. Um, and you distribute a keg and it covers the cost. We're not making ton of money on distributing kegs. That's not, I feel like, where our business lies. It's more our tap room and pint sales, but it's great being able to approach anyone and get a beer on and expose our company to all of those patrons. But then too, like, we just acquired a canning line, which we're going to get up and going, and that's a whole other self distribution point where you can kind of place cans in strategic places where people notice them and are like, "Hey, I haven't seen that before," and then they crack a can. And back to what I was saying about being a 7 barrel brewery and being able to dry hop 22 pounds on 7 barrels, they crack a beer that absolutely blows their mind. And that to me is so awesome when you find a can of IPA, if you're like an IPA lover, which I have been, and you crack a certain can, you're like, wow, that's insane. Where is that place? I need to go there immediately and see what's going on there. That's still kind of the allure of the craft industry for me, is discovering through cans and can shares and bottle shares. And um, yeah, it's good. It's a good point.
Um, so you talked about distributing through your tap room is one of your main distribution mechanisms, but you're a tap room and a theater. So I've been to plenty of theaters that don't have good craft beer, or maybe have some craft beer, and you're paying a
Or
lot
none at
for them.
all.
How is it there? How
Mhm.
does it work? Does it you stop by the tap room and then you head over to the theater, or how does that work?
Yeah, they're separate. They're completely separate rooms. So when you enter the building, you enter into the tap room. Um, to smiling faces, a great staff, craft cocktails, awesome NA cocktails, a food truck that's running in house, putting out great food for people, um, an amazing 8,000 watt high fidelity sound system, so great tunes, and a really great environment. And then down the hall, um, opens up into a 50-person theater, where these shows are happening. So whether you're just a patron that comes in to enjoy craft beer at the bar, and food and stuff, that stuff is simultaneously happening, which is a really great synergy. I think at Hearsay is that there's such a great theater community, and the shows are hilarious. And having several shows a night is amazing. So you've got people that come in and are just there for a beer, and then this horde of a crowd of people come through for a ticketed show, and then enjoy beverages after the show and before the show, and then the second show. So it's it's a really lively spot. There's a lot of people coming and going, which is great to see. But Tony's done such a good job um, creating that environment, which ultimately supports everything we're doing, and has been such a great it's been such a great thing to see the theater community supporting the arts, and then also coming out to support a craft brewery. It's a special thing. It's worth coming out to check out.
So one of my friends is a full-time comic, and he's from the Midwest. And I see that tonight, as we're recording this, you have a Midwest-themed show going on. How
Yeah.
do I get my friend booked on that in your theater
Our
to
buddy
go show?
Eric, who runs Tree Town Comedy, would be. I'm not gonna blast out his Gmail address on a live podcast, but I'll hit you up, Rob,
All
after
right,
the show
excellent.
and give you his contact info. Yeah, it's a cool show. It's happening literally right now. So yeah, before we started the podcast, I was checking in on one of the teams I direct, which is like a really fun, fast-paced improv show. And then at 9, we turn it over quick for 6 stand-up comics. Actually, one of them tonight is our good friend that moved to New York. She used to do improv. Now she left us for the world of stand-up, so she came back here and is doing a stand-up show. And it's all been super fun. I think there were some initial, like, one of the things that might be interesting to like listeners is there were definitely some like learnings early on from all this, because when you launch like exactly what you said, Rob, like if you go to most theaters, usually the drink experience is like a big ass bottle of wine poured into a plastic cup, and it's like like a gallo, and it's like, do you want the red or the white, or do you want which of the between Bud Light and Miller Lite or Coors Light, which is the
Wine
one
from
you
a
want? 'Cause we only
plastic
have one.
bag.
Yeah, wine from a plastic bag. Slap the bag. But no, so here I think the whole paradigm, and there, I would literally get calls when we first opened of people being like, "Am I allowed to come into your brewery, or do I have to see a show?" And so we definitely had way more education than we expected early on. Like, because I think one of the lessons I think for anybody opening any type of business is the things that make sense to you won't necessarily immediately make sense to your guests. Sometimes you got to get people through to experience our venue. And once people come in once, they get it, but they'd be like, do I have to see a show? If I'm sitting at the bar, are there just going to be like comedians bothering me and heckling me? And I'm like, what kind of
Am I
business
going
would
to
that
be roasted?
Yeah, like we just have like an insult comic with like a little dog on his hand, like walking through the tap room, just making people not comfortable. But yeah, we're
Immediately
super hot. I think
assimilating who you look like when you walk in.
yeah, like Ben kind of, but the reality is the opposite. Like I had read, Ben brings like an incredible background of like running multiple businesses, and really thinking about hospitality is probably something we like really have in common, caring about that a lot. Right before we opened the business, I had read a book, Unreasonable Hospitality, that I think is a really cool read for anybody running a brewery. Like one of the, and I don't know that we're there yet, but I think we could get there eventually. I think we're doing a lot of the things that could get us to that state, but kind of like the fun thought experiment of what would it mean to have like a Michelin star brewery, and like, not that you're necessarily gonna do that immediately, but what decisions would you make if you were trying to, especially on the service side, provide that experience? Because I've been to so many places where you kind of come into a brewery and it's immediately a pretty cold experience, or it's kind of it just feels very transactional, and you can kind of feel that, like you walk up to the bar and it's, these are the beers, which of the beers would you like, and it's
Right.
instead of I think our team, we've tried to do a really good job of getting to know people and building relationships, building friendships with some of our now Mug Club members. But yeah, that idea of like, where can you go above and beyond? We've done some like really, I mean, we host like charitable bingo and other events, and I'm regularly trying to, like, if we can throw an extra $20 gift card in and just make it more fun and have extra stuff, like just feel like I'm finding right now, like the more we give things, the more it comes back. And I don't know, maybe at some point my accountant will say something about that, but for now, it's kind of nice to be in that mode of like, how can we support things? How can we be charitable? If we're seen as like one of the businesses that's easiest to partner with for nonprofits or other organizations in the city, that's a really good thing for us. It's another great way to get people in the tap room. Like our bingo events have been huge. We've had for us, like 50 to 80 people in the tap room is about where we max out. So we've had some events like that have gotten into that range, which is really helpful for us.
Yeah, I could see having like a theater space attached as a novel thing that would provide other ways to bring people in, whether there was shows going on or things over there too. So
yeah,
like,
people can,
like karaoke night.
Yeah, we have
Whole next
karaoke,
level.
and yeah, we've done karaoke.
Yeah.
We just hosted like a
It's
PhD.
so awesome.
Yeah, we're willing to do like wacky stuff sometimes. Like we did a PhD defense party where we created multiple cocktails. Like this lady studies snake camouflaging through color, And we were able to just go, I think we really did a good job going above and beyond, like making custom drinks that were inspired by her research. And then we did, that group like loves karaoke. So we set up like an awesome karaoke thing. And like, that's to me what it's about. You know, I think a lot of breweries wouldn't necessarily go to that length to personalize.
Yeah.
And it's not always like the stuff that's really expensive. It was like
Tuning in all the
writing
TV.
congratulations. Yeah. And like making 2 cocktails for her. And like Ben made a custom lemonade that we're now serving on as a cocktail because Ben's like secret lemonade he's been holding out on me is so good.
It's so good.
Now people want it.
Yeah. And like snake videos on YouTube on like all the screens and all the it's interesting. You see with each of these events groups of people that are super hyper fixated on something come through, and it's great just supporting their interests and supplying them with craft beverages and creating a great environment, all the facets that kind of play into like having a place that is memorable and that people love. It's the design of the room, it's the design of the beverages, it's the food and the catering at that group was phenomenal. And that all coming together with amazing sound. It's really like it instantly turns into like a really awesome, hospitable environment that people it imprints on people. They love it there, and they're like, "Wow, that was so fun! Like, we're gonna come back." So I love seeing that. I love seeing it all come together for those private parties that don't involve the theater, and then the 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 ones that do and the shows that happen. It's like it's all it's great synergy of energy and vibes that come together in that room. It's fun.
It sounds like you guys are having a great time there.
Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah, we are.
one other thing I wanted to share, just on the spirit of like collaboration and such, like we've actually started to bring our comedy show to other venues. So we worked with Dave over at Batch Brewing and brought a comedy show there a couple months ago, where we just had to reschedule our second iteration of that, but that sold really well and was very, very popular. So there's like other ways we're finding to collaborate as well. I think like Ben's been like a real, like he does these like incredible deep dives, and like we've just been like, I think we're just now hitting like we've kind of done at least like the basic bones of all styles we'll probably cover.
Yeah.
So now that we have a couple sours on our menu, and we're about to have our first hazy, which we had a we had a funny conversation with it's somebody that actually loves us a lot and is like a good friend, but was basically like, "You're not a real brewery till you brew a hazy," and we were like, "All right." Such a wild thing to say. I can imagine. Can you imagine going to like a restaurant and being like, "You're not a real Italian restaurant till you
Chef,
have
until you
a
make an egg
spicy
roll."
meatball." Yeah, or me. Yeah, even funnier, an egg roll. But yeah, it's just there's we I think it's been really cool to see somebody like Ben brews such awesome traditional beer. Like his Kolsch family recipe is an awesome beer. That's a great segue for beer for people that drink a lot of lager to kind of explore the world of ale, or ales, obviously ales that drink like lager. But now kind of adding a sour option and adding adding a sour, now adding a hazy. We're also really passionate about West Coast IPA, and I feel like it'd be remiss not to say like that as far as like signature beer styles go. I actually think within a couple of years we'll probably be known for West Coast IPA more than anything else that we're doing. The Nectar on Crush, that's something that's like, if there was like a Venn diagram of like things Ben loves, things I love, the middle area, like West Coast IPA is very firmly on there. All Pilsner
Yeah.
malt, like big dry hop edition. I spent a few years on the West Coast and just fell in love with those styles of like San Diego style West Coast IPA. And I think we can potentially, there's at least with Ben's acumen and like his water chemistry knowledge, like there's room for us to put Ann Arbor on the map for West Coast IPA, which would be really exciting. And I think now that we're getting all these like now that we've kind of hit, like we've expanded our boundaries of like what styles we would brew. Now there's that room to like, now we're starting to make like batch 2 West Coast, batch 2, we've made batch 2 Kolsch. that's, I think, where more that like actual collaboration comes, because like we've got a firmer, like we kind of know we know what we are, we know what we're not doing, right? Like we're not brewing Belgian beers, we're not, we know the things you're not doing, and then you can kind of lean into the stuff you are doing and bring thought partners in, or other breweries that that may want to like take a look at comparing notes and doing some really cool projects.
I heard you're not really a real brewery until you brew a triple. I just want to throw
A
that one out
triple.
there.
Whoa, Belgian triple. Okay.
That's my
Whoa.
favorite. So. I just had to
Yeah,
throw that
okay.
out there to see if it works a
You're
second
negging
time.
us. Yeah.
Okay.
You're like one of those magicians
Sounds
from the
like a party.
early
I'm down.
2000s that flirts by being negative. Yeah. But
I do like the bold vision. You will be known for West Coast IPAs, and I am here for it. So we will have
It's
to
gonna
check back in
happen.
with you.
That'll happen.
that's a favorite style for us. Yeah. And the ones that we're doing, like we're really, really excited by. We're, it's just getting, I think it's getting the market. I think things are moving in that direction. I think I can speak for both of us that we prefer West Coast just because the mouthfeel is a little bit for us better. You're not getting as much hot burn. You're not getting as much like unnecessary particulate. So I think there's things you can like, the flavors that people love, and a lot of the flavors people love in a hazy, like I think you can pull off in a West Coast that's done really well, and it just has that that clean, tighter, body to it that is just really, to me, really enjoyable. So that's something I follow closely, is the whole like, my buddy runs the blog Nobody, or account Nobody Likes West Coast IPA, which was a really funny quote a few years back. And I'm so happy to have a partner in Ben that kind of embraces that, like the cheekiness around like kind of underdog mindset, or this style's been written off because of the like IBU arms race of the mid 2010s, where people were just like assaulted by these wildly bitter beers. And what people are making now is just like so drinkable and so wonderfully hoppy, moving it more to the cold side. It's awesome. And so Ben's really like just a tremendous partner because he's able to just dial things in so well. So
I think, obviously it's fascinating when you are holding a glass that is as clear as a Corona, and you go in first sip of that, and it's just a world of hops and flavor. And you wouldn't expect that from looking at the glass. It looks like a can of Bud Light poured in a pint. And then you go into that West Coast and you're just overwhelmed with hop aroma and flavor. And with all the research that's come out in dry hopping techniques in the past 5 years, I think we as brewers we understand more than ever how to infuse and dry hop these super exotic varieties into these beers, and then being able to cold crash that into a crystal clear liquid that still contains all that goodness is so exciting for me. In a world of hazies, and I'm not knocking hazies, but like, there's so much flocked into that liquid. And with that, you can, and the greatest of hazy producers um, lock in so much flavor with that haze, that's another point that, and I'm really excited to see, our first hazy, crushed neck drawn hazy to drop. Um, I love them both, I guess is what I'm saying. I love drinking hazies. I love how that profile of flocculated protein haze with the chemistry of haze all comes together to support all of the flavors from the hops. But then I'm even more fascinated with beers that contain all of those flavors that are completely crystal clear. That to me is like, just, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great.
yeah, especially New Zealand hops. I think we both share a strong
Yeah.
affinity for New Zealand hops, just that like white wine character. Ben's known for loving Nelson
Oh yeah.
hops. We had a
Big
really,
time.
really cool beer called Sauv Rock that was very, very popular. We just got yelled at the other day for not having it by a guy that comes in a bunch. That's funny.
Yeah,
It's like
it's definitely my most unique creation thus far. It kind of played into the development of cold IPA, as it was called. I, at the time when I was developing that recipe, didn't know that what I was doing was cold IPA. And I don't want to go as far as to say that I was doing it before the guy that called it cold IPA, but I was. So it was essentially the research of taking, really ultralight adjunct based um, base recipes, and then cold dry hopping them at cold temperatures. um and so that started with that first recipe, Sauv Rock, like 7 years ago now, where I was really interested in Nelson. There were all these cans of beers I was having at can shares and stuff that had Nelson Sauvin um as an ingredient, and but none of them were just Nelson beers. And so the research for me started with, like, do I even know what that hop tastes like? If I've never had a beer that's just like a heavily dry hop Nelson beer. Um so at the time I had a really good uh cashmere cream ale on my board, and with one batch I was like, what would happen if I, extremely dry hopped this cashmere cream ale? And when I say cream ale, my cream ales, I usually have corn. I really don't like corn in beer as much. It's like something that I don't know, just I don't enjoy. So it was just a wheat adjunct cream ale um, that ended up just exploding the the Nelson profile, and the way that beer ages and how it gets better. And the longer it ages, as it comes into its maturation, it develops all these extreme um, white wine flavors, um, Sauv Blanc flavors that are just awesome. And so it's a very unique product that we make, and it's one that I can foresee doing like a barrel age rendition of, in Sauv Blanc barrels would be like a mind blow. So yeah, we have room to kind of experimenting and growing into some new stuff with some barrel aging stuff. I'm excited to get into that once we kind of, you know, touch down. We're still so new, and we're still like uh working into our menu and growing into our skin. So there's a lot of great areas to grow into. I think in the next few years it's gonna be great.
Tony and Benny, we are approaching the end of the show, and you guys have been wonderful to talk to. We are going to start wrapping up with our final question as we wrap up every show, which sometimes has something to do with beer, sometimes doesn't. I'm going to go to my go-to question because I've been enjoying some of the answers for it. But what was the last board game or card game that you guys played, and did you win?
Ooh.
I can answer that because it was so a lot of improvisers, the people that do improv comedy are pretty nerdy, and they have a lot of different board games. And there was one I was kind of hanging out at the tap room in a Saturday afternoon. Somebody brought this game that involved dragons and shops, and you had to swap. You got material. It was a very like strategic, crazy game. I'm gonna try to find what it's called. I'm gonna Google
Okay.
this right now.
That one sounds pretty fun, though.
Yeah, it was, but you and I won. So if I win, that's even, I like
That's
to
even
win.
better.
So,
Way
We
to
need
be
um,
one in the
better.
tap room now.
yeah. So Dragon, yeah, I'm gonna try to find this. I'm probably gonna get, yeah, I need to find a way to search for. I looked it up previously, and I'll know it right when I see it. But yeah, what about you,
Because
Ben? Oh, sorry,
Worm
I
Spam
don't.
is very popular. That's a dragon game.
Yeah.
Flamecraft is the answer.
Flamecraft.
Flamecraft.
Okay.
Yeah, it was super wild. It was like I didn't know what I was doing at first, and then apparently I was doing well. I just played pretty aggressive, and I think it was a game where like playing aggressive worked well. It was like you could kind of wait till the end to do things, or you could do them as you were playing the game. And I was like, I'm just going to do things as much as I can, which is kind of a good metaphor for how I think we do. This is how I can tie it back to business. That's kind of how I operate in business. Like we're just gonna like try to do everything all at once and see what we can pull off. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna launch a food truck, we're gonna launch a theater, we're gonna launch a school of comedy. Ben's gonna launch these awesome beers, and hopefully
Yeah.
our dragons will have the most coins at the end of the game. We'll see.
That's right.
Yeah. I have 3 children, 7, 6, and 3. So we're working into board games, but we're not quite there. But our favorite game right now is called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
I
And
love that game.
so yeah, the Taco Cat Goat Cheese is our daily. And they you asked like when did I win? I never win. They always they always beat me, but I'm usually enjoying a craft beer while they're and so they're far more acute to calling out the correct card than I am, which kind of makes it fun. But that's my favorite right now.
Nice. Okay, Wendy, you want to
So
ask your question?
by the time we release this video, I will be on a boat. So my question for you guys is, where is the next place you want to go to drink a beer on
Okay,
vacation?
so Wendy, I have a question because since we're launching this live, does this mean you're gonna make a time machine and like go back in time and like
No,
somehow
because
be on a boat and like
if you
my
don't catch it live, then you can go back and watch it later. So by the
okay.
time we release the video from the live, I will be on a boat. That's though the time thing would be really awesome. I would love to make that work.
That'd be cool. Where I feel like that's pretty vague. Where on a is it a Michigan lake? Are you going the Caribbean? Where are
No,
you going?
I am going on the Broadway cruise.
Okay. Well,
Ooh,
so
that sounds
That
Broadway
fun.
sounds up
cruise.
their alley.
Ooh,
Yes,
yeah,
I'm
that's
going on the
that's
Broadway cruise. So we are going to
cool.
Cozumel, but while we are on the boat, there will be a bunch of Broadway stars and performers that will be performing for us and
Wow.
That's
holding
great.
like Bob Mackey's going to be there. I'm super excited about that.
Oh wow.
I think I
So
found your
like,
tour. March
Yeah.
yeah,
31st to April 4th.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
sign me
amazing.
up.
I'm super excited. And the one
Yeah.
Wayne
place we are
Brady.
going is Cozumel. Yes, Adam Pascal and Anthony Rapp. I mean, come on.
Wayne Brady does great
Can
in
you,
improv.
can you tell Wayne Brady I'm trying to book him for a 50-person show
Yeah.
if he wants to come
Yeah.
to?
Tell him we're trying to get him out
I will
immediately.
do what I can.
Yeah,
I
um,
will do what I can.
I
that
can
sounds
answer that.
awesome.
I can answer that question first. I live up in Oakland County, so I commute to Ann Arbor to brew, and we found a couple great partners to in local distribution through Brown Iron, which has a location in Royal Oak and Washington Township, and then our good friends at Oat Soda here in Lake Orion, which are keeping a couple of beers on. So both, Brown Iron, I can't speak enough about the positivity and what they bring to the craft beer industry. 75 craft drafts on. Just my friend Sarah Babby that manages there. Just what she does alone to keep the keg cooler in line is astronomical. And then having that amass of craft products from small businesses in Michigan and and several other states, um, that beer library really is a pivotal point for people to come in and to try new styles, to get short pours of many beers, and then too, oat soda is the same. Jason, the owner there, used to manage and procure the beers at Clubhouse before Griffin Claw took over that location, and is he's a legend, absolute legend in the craft beer industry, and his picks and the beers that he has on at Oat Soda, you don't find anywhere else. And so those two places I can't plug enough. I love having beers there. I love the craft community that is there, and it just turns so many people on to not only our products but all these other small businesses that are doing the same thing. So I think that those businesses really play an integral role in keeping craft beer afloat in the state. So that's where I drink beers.
Awesome.
Yeah. So where would I? So it's anywhere I could drink beer.
Anywhere in
Is
the
that
world that you want to
anywhere in
go
the
to drink a beer.
world? I would really like to go to. I have a good buddy that lives just outside of Cologne, and with how good how much I've enjoyed both the Kolsch we make at Hearsay and also my buddy Anthony's Kolsch over at Someday. I would love to go. I owe my buddy Max a return or a trip to Bonn and then to kind of tour Cologne. I would love to do the Kolsching service there. I've seen that
I
really
would
pick up
love that.
steam. Yeah, that's picked up a lot of steam in Michigan. I've seen Drafting Table, Loaded Dice had done that before they just closed, and Someday's done that. I think that could certainly be something we do at some point. I think that's right up our alley. But to go kind of do that from the source and to kind of taste that benchmark. Because I know for me, I did the
Awesome.
trip to southern Germany and did the whole like Munich Oktoberfest thing and love that experience. Really just an incredible trip a few years back. I'd like to hit northern Germany and just especially for the beers we're making, which are just like really pure, clean beers, primarily. That's a trip I'd love to put in the itinerary whenever we can find time to leave, which is the
Right.
challenging thing currently.
If we ever leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still super bummed because I had to cancel a trip to GABF because we had like just opened a month ago or a month in, and we even had like a wedding out there. I was like, I'm a month into this business. Things are crazy. I can't
Tony
do
and I
this.
were both like, he was like, well, what if you just go? And I was
Yeah,
like, neither of us can go. So
nobody can go.
ultimately his wife just went and yeah, Lauren went and we were like,
Yeah,
there's always next year, right?
he sent a
And
picture
maybe
hanging
we'll
out to
go when we
Eric,
have some
Eric
beers
from
in the competition.
Bachelor, and I was like, I was
Yeah.
like, my one request to my friends, I was like, don't send me any social media. I'm too much FOMO
Don't
right
yeah,
now.
don't send us
I don't
pictures.
want to know.
We are not.
Only send me if like you have to go to urgent care, if something goes horribly
Yeah.
wrong, send me that picture. If you're having fun, I don't
Yes.
want to know. No,
No.
I'm not that cruel, but
Too soon. Too soon.
yeah. Uh, but yeah,
I
good
get that.
questions. Have fun. That sounds like an incredible cruise. You have to say hi to Wayne for me, Wendy. Tell him Tony from Hearsay says hello.
I will
Yeah,
definitely do that.
definitely do that.
And he'll be like,
Definitely.
what the yeah.
Yeah.
So the coolest part about the cruise is that I have a friend that owns an international beer bar in Cozumel. So
Whoa.
it's the one place that we're going. So I get to go to visit him, drink awesome beer, and then there's a brewery that just opened in Cozumel a few years ago, and the brewer was from Muskegon. So
Cool.
I can't wait to go back and see how things have progressed because I was there the first year they opened.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
You could be
Muskegon
brewing in
is
Cozumel,
the-
yes.
So I'm moving to St. Bart's.
Yeah.
Hey, it can happen.
Yeah.
Wow, that is inspiring. What a guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Benny and Tony, thank you very much. It has truly been a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
What
it was
have you
great.
got
Thank
anything
you.
coming up in the short term that you want to plug?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are when will this formally post? You said so Wendy will be in
I've
on the
been getting
boat.
better about getting it out. Like the video will be tomorrow, the podcast will be sometime this weekend.
Okay, cool. So so when you're listening to this, it's the future, but it's the present for you, but it's the future for me. So come to Hearsay on April 5th. Actually, funny, the thing I'm about to plug is very funny for the brain pretzel I just put myself in. We are having a hash bash post party on April 5th, and we're going to release the this incredible West Coast IPA with Nectaron and Crush, formerly HBC 586. my personal favorite hop. Shout out to the 586. So we're releasing like this super just aromatic West Coast IPA on April 5th. We're gonna have a Jamaican food truck. Our buddies over at Loom Cannabis across the street am I allowed to say that? I don't forget if that was one. Okay, anyway. Okay. Loom Cannabis will be there. And we're gonna, so it'll be like there's a big event, Hash Bash downtown Ann Arbor. And then afterwards we're like, hey, come have some food, have some really awesome hoppy beer.
Dank beers. Really dank beers.
Yeah. So that's our biggest beer event coming up is the April 5th, 4 to 11 p.m. Come check us out. And then don't sleep too long on that West Coast. Come and try it while it's on, because I think that beer is going to go like really fast. We're about to turn on a new canning line we got. So some of that might even go out in that project. But yeah, April 5th. And then anytime you want to come check us out at Hear.Say, I mean, there's live entertainment every single Friday and Saturday of some variety. So it's always a good weekend to be here and have some fun. And as we discussed earlier, you can always crash on site. We've got the 2-bedroom, 4-bed bungalow. We might even, sometimes we just tell people that's where you need to be. Just, we haven't had to do that yet, but in theory, if it gets over the top, it's nice to have an option. Like I can call you an Uber, or you can walk 20 feet and just go into that house. But yeah, April 5th, Hash Bash party. And then, any weekend we've got live comedy and events. So we'd love to see people out. And we really appreciate you having us on the podcast and the incredible coverage of our business. It really means a lot as a newer brewery, just have people interested in what we're doing and supporting the industry so much. So thank you, Rob and Wendy and team at Better on Draft.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So on our side, we've got March Draftness is still going on. You guys aren't in it anymore, and I'm sorry, but there's still 2 more rounds left as we're recording this. So get out there and vote. Vote early, vote often.
Definitely.
And of course,
stay in line. If you're in line to vote on Facebook, stay in line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. They can't close the polls if you're in line.
They can't close it. You can't give anyone water. That was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where like Larry goes to prison for giving somebody water in line to vote. So,
That's awesome. We will be back in 2 weeks. We are talking to the founder of Tapster, one of those self-serve tap your own beers breweries or tap rooms. And so that will be in 2 weeks. And Wendy, you got anything else you want to plug?
Can you download a beer illegally on Tapster?
That would, right? And share with your friends.
Right?
I think Metallica is going to have something to say about this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I will have to ask if he's from that era.
I'm sure.
We're dating ourselves with that joke.
Yeah. Always.
All right. Well, my beer is empty, but whatever you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.